Yesterday was the day of the Oblivion Remaster. That's what dominated the entire news cycle across all of gaming. We will take a look at everything happening because we got the official reveal, the announcement, and the launch of Oblivion Remastered. And it was pretty cool. I mean, online, everybody was losing their minds, what they've shown off so far. And I'm sure many of you have already downloaded and started playing it. Very cool day if you are an RPG fan, if you're an Oblivion fan. So we will be talking about that, plus a couple of other smaller things that did get announced. But obviously, all that stuff has been overshadowed by Oblivion. But for now, if it's your first time here or if you've been watching for a while and you enjoy daily gaming news 8 a.m. every single day, make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay updated on everything happening in the gaming industry. And let's jump into it. So we've been talking about the Oblivion Remaster now for a few weeks, about all the rumors that have been popping up. There were a lot of naysayers that thought that these rumors were made up, this game wasn't going to happen, and that people were just trying to create false hope and fake hype around another big game that's going to be dropping from Xbox in day one, Game Pass, and then obviously a game that has a huge fan base from when it did come out on the Xbox 360, a great RPG. And we got the official reveal and announcement for it yesterday. They showed off a bunch of upgrades to the game, the graphics, the gameplay. The game looks absolutely phenomenal comparatively to the Xbox 360 version. And they ended everything off with revealing the game was being shadow dropped. It was available right now for everybody to go and play. And boy, that set off the internet because everybody was extremely excited. Lots of people were talking about it. It's kind of overshadowed anything else that was happening in the gaming world. And it was so popular that we've already had over 100,000 concurrent players playing the game for a game that was shadow dropped. Here is some reports that are going around here for the Oblivion Remaster. We have this here from Insider Gaming saying Oblivion Remaster rockets past 100K players on Steam hours after launch. They say here less than 4 hours after the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered announcement went live, the game already bypassed over 100,000 players and is now past 120,000 current players as of 6:50 p.m. UTC. So very, very strong numbers. It's extremely impressive the fact that they were able to shadow drop this thing and get those numbers instantly on Steam. It's not that surprising because of how popular of an IP Elder Scrolls is, how big of a game Oblivion was. But there was no marketing leading up to this. The only marketing were people like me and people who were talking about the rumors. You also had Jeff Grubb, who had been putting the rumors out there, and people were saying he wasn't telling the truth, but obviously he was. That was basically the marketing for this game, building up that hype for this official announcement that we did get. Shadow drops, boom, 120,000 concurrent players, and that number's probably going to go up. And that's just Steam. Think about the amount of people playing it on Xbox and PlayStation, people playing it in Xbox Game Pass. This is a huge, huge launch here for Xbox and for Bethesda that seemingly has come out of nowhere in a time where we also have tons of other major games coming out. The one thing here with this Oblivion Remaster that is an interesting thing to think about is, why did they release it now? Why did they shadow drop it right now, especially with Clair Obscur Expedition coming out at the same time, a few days after, either today or tomorrow, I forget when the exact release date is, where people are going to be playing that as well. And they're both day one into Xbox Game Pass, so people are going to have to choose which game they do want to jump into. In fact, there's lots of discussions going on around this, something that I had talked about previously, if we were actually going to get this shadow drop, as to why they would have selected now to do it. And there's probably a variety of reasons they came up with this date. Contract situations is probably the thing that comes to mind the most, where this had already been decided upon and they wanted to get this game out, because this is a game, you remember, was in the FTC documents with the Xbox acquiring ABK stuff that was going on. So we kind of were hinted that this was in the works. It was never confirmed, and maybe they had gotten to a point where they had to release it, but who knows? We have this discussion here. We have Dustin Furman here, of course, from Last Stand Media, saying, I'm excited, but it's absolutely wild to me that Xbox has one of their biggest gets ever for Game Pass with Expedition 33, and then drops an Oblivion remake just days before, completely overshadowing it. And you go through the comments here, and people are asking and trying to figure out why this is the case. You have Hogue Law here saying, they'll be okay. Not sure about any hurt feelings, but more eyes on Game Pass probably isn't bad for them. And this is the fact of talking about the Expedition 33 developers. We even have this year, the Expedition 33 developers. They were in on this celebration. They put the handshake emoji here in regards to Bethesda announcing that Oblivion has been released. So they know what's up, and they know that there are going to be people out there that are going to be waiting now to play Clear Obscure Expedition 33, and as they are going through the Oblivion remake. But you have to ask, this is an interesting time to release this game. And the reality is, for gamers, for people on Xbox and Game Pass, it's a great problem to have, having all of these games launching at the same time, because you're going to end up being able to play both. They're going to be in the service. You know, Oblivion isn't going anywhere as it is a first-party title. So you have a great week for RPGs. That's the way I looked at it as I tweeted out. It is just a phenomenal week here for RPGs when you have the Oblivion remaster coming or launched, and then you have Clear Obscure Expedition out in the next couple of days. So there's just so much to play, and the value of Game Pass is absolutely insane. And I think another thing that this does show is that the shadow drop formula can work depending on the IP and depending on the title. Leading up to the shadow drop, I was thinking Oblivion, everybody knows it. It's a huge IP. It would be a big game. They could just have a huge marketing campaign surrounding this thing, and the numbers would be huge right off of the bat. They didn't need that. I was wrong. They shadow dropped this. It's already huge. It did not matter. They saved all that money on a big marketing campaign, and that, to me, I think was the right decision based off of how successful this thing has been right off of the bat. You compare it to a game like Hi-Fi Rush, that was probably the game that needed that big marketing campaign way more than a game here like Oblivion, or the Oblivion Remastered. So very cool stuff there. It is official. You can go ahead and play it right now. Download it on PC, download it on Xbox, and all the other platforms that it is on. Here are some of the upgrades that they did go over here. It is actually a huge overhaul, which is why the whole remaster versus remake naming convention thing is always confusing. I guess it can only be a remake if the thing is built from the ground up, and then maybe some of the game is changed, but they have done so much here. In fact, they reveal the tech specs and the gameplay changes. Here are some of the big things here. They say it's designed in cooperation with the remaster specialist at Virtuos. Oblivion Remastered keeps the core of the original game intact and includes the Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles expansion. So you get everything with this game, the DLC, everything like that. They say, but drapes it in an incredible new visual style powered by Unreal Engine 5. And that's where the big visual upgrades are going to be coming. The Xbox Series X is 4K resolution, 60 frames per second gameplay, so you're going to have a great experience on console. And it's not just the visual and animation boosts that are coming to this game. Here are some of the gameplay changes or some of the quality of life user experience changes that you are going to be getting. The HUD and menu and map reworks. They showed off all of this in that reveal trailer. The improved UI for systems like Persuasion, Clairvoyance, and more. Modifications to leveling, encumbrance, non-combat perks, and other mechanics. Improved enemy scaling, enhanced accessibility features, additional autosaves, revised first-person and third-person camera. That was a big thing. You can really tweak that camera now and just give yourself the best experience possible when playing it. They say Microsoft closes out the new feature list with much more bullet points as well. So expect plenty of other tweaks and changes to be tucked into the Unreal Engine 5 remaster over your adventure. So this thing is huge. It's not just a small upgrade. It's not like the Fallout 4 Enhanced Edition or whatever, although that was a newer game where we got like the next generation upgrade to it. This is something that they took basically rebuilt it from the ground up graphically in Unreal Engine 5 and improved upon all of the things that would make it better in modern gaming experiences. All of the quality of life that doesn't take away from the essence of the game, but just makes the experience better for people jumping in and playing, people who are fans of the game, new players. I don't think anyone's really going to be disappointed on the changes that they did make here. So very cool stuff. They also did some voice acting upgrades to the game itself, which I wonder how people are going to feel as they do play through that. From what they showed off, it looked great and it sounded good. So it's pretty cool that they came out with this shadow drop of this massive, massive game. There's also many additions to this game, or a couple of additions here, and the pricing and everything. We will go over that in case you're looking at which one you do want to pick up. There is the digital edition content that you can get for $10 extra if you are an Xbox Game Pass member. So you pay $10 and you get the extra digital edition stuff, which comes with the digital art book and soundtrack app, which is included with the game itself. And then you also get unique in-game avatar of Akatosh, Emerun's Dagon armors, weapons, and the horse armor set. So that is locked behind that deluxe edition upgrade itself. But the game itself is $49.99, but you can also just get the deluxe edition as the game standalone for $59.99. So it's a $50 game, or deluxe edition here for $60. And from everything that they showed off with the improvements, I think $50 is probably in that ballpark of to what people were expecting this would cost. It's not a full price game. Maybe people were expecting $40. I don't think it matters. You look at the amount of people jumping in and playing, and they are more than willing to spend that $50 to jump into a remaster of a classic game with some major upgrades. And if you're looking to get this game on a deal from like CDKeys or something, it's actually been so popular that the CDKeys websites are crashing with the amount of people that are trying to get in and pick up this game from those third-party sites. They say here that those of you who wish to purchase the game through Steam will pay the $49.99. But that being said, sites like CDKeys are already selling it at a discount, but the game is so popular, it has actually crashed the website. So yeah, that's insane. They put out this tweet here saying, "Hi guys, our website is experiencing high traffic volumes at the moment due to the release of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. Please wait 30 minutes and try again if you are getting an available shortly message." So it's so popular with a shadow drop out of nowhere that it's crashing the CDKeys website, which I just find insane. I find it funny. And it again shows with popular IPs like this is actually probably a very smart and good way to do this launch, because you put some rumors out there. Who knows how they got out there? Maybe it was intentionally, maybe it wasn't. You have people talking about it, waiting in anticipation. You have naysayers calling the leakers, or the people talking about liars for saying that this game is happening when they don't believe it is happening. And then when it happens, there's just a huge wave of excitement and anticipation to jump in and play it with that shadow drop after they've shown off with a good showing. It also takes away that time for people to go out there and spread negativity surrounding the product itself. So it is kind of a smart strategy when you do think about it, especially for a game here like Oblivion. In fact, there was another take here in terms of how the release went, and Pete Dorer on YouTube, who I've watched for a very long time when it comes to retro games, he had this to say when it comes to the Oblivion Remaster. He says, "The Oblivion Remaster will go down as one of the best reveals and releases ever in gaming. A few weeks ago, we had no idea this would be a thing, and any rumors were just a pipe dream. Now we're playing it today. This brings back the magic and excitement I used to feel in the 2000s when games would sort of just show up out of nowhere and you could feel surprised by the release. Yes, it's a remaster, not an entirely new game, but being able to experience the exciting opening tutorial dungeon and seeing the vast open world again for the first time in 18 years with all new graphics is all I need in my life right now. More Secret Shadow drop releases like this, please." So people who are looking at this in that way, as it is one of the best releases ever in the way that they did go about it. So they did a very good job at the end of the day with making sure that the excitement was able to stay there and that they built it up somehow without any real marketing campaign. When it comes to the difference between the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, depending on which console you're going to want to play on, here are some of the differences that you can look forward to on the console that you're going to be playing. So both versions here, they say the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S versions of Oblivion Remastered, this is courtesy of Fusion Xbox testing on YouTube, compares the same bit of open world gameplay on both consoles and also tests the frame rate in the process. So on the Series X, it is running at a possible native output of 1080p to 1274p in quality mode, which is being upscaled to 4K. Performance mode is listed with a possible native 1080p. Both modes seem to hit their respective frame rates of 30 FPS and 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X. On the Series S here, they're saying that it's running possibly at a native output of 420p to 630p, which is wild, and it's being upscaled to 1260p, and this is hitting the 30 FPS target. And then they say, unfortunately, on the Series S for this version, it does not include a 60 FPS option at launch. So if you're on the Series S, you're getting 30 FPS upscaled to 1260p. Maybe they will bring out a 60 FPS option in the future. I feel like that's something they would be able to do, but as of right now, yeah, you're getting 30 FPS. They say, from what it's worth, aside from the 30 FPS limit, they think the Series S matches up very well to the Series X. Say here that we've still got a few concerns surrounding image stutters and artifacting that we mentioned with their hands on. So this is what Pure Xbox is saying in terms of how they do stack up. So those are the two different modes that you're going to be able to play here between the Series X and the Xbox Series S. So there it is, the Oblivion Remaster. It's exciting. It was crazy how that whole launch did go down, but they did a great job. This is a huge launch from Xbox, another one in the first half of this year, and we still have an entire second half of 2025 to go, where we are going to get all the information as to what is coming out at the Xbox June showcase. So just a wild year so far in the world of Xbox and Game Pass and the output from their first party studios. Now, Elder Scrolls 6. Yes, we're playing Elder Scrolls 4 right now with the remaster, but Elder Scrolls 6, what's going on with that? It's still being worked on. It's still currently being developed, of course, and Todd Howard confirmed this in the Oblivion announcement. It says here that focusing during the video was for the Oblivion installment, but Bethesda's Todd Howard took the time to mention that the Elder Scrolls 6 briefly, saying, don't get too excited. There wasn't any big game unveiling outside of the Oblivion Remastered. Instead, Todd only noted that they were still working on the next game. So at least we know it's still currently in the works. And hopefully that means more news is coming sooner rather than later. So he didn't show us anything, didn't give us any more information, but the game, of course, is still in the works. The question is, when do we see this? Is there a chance we see it this summer? I would say probably not. I feel like this one is still a ways out, but it's still being worked on, and when they finally show it, the excitement for that is just going to be absolutely insane. There was also another RPG that was announced yesterday that just kind of is going to be flying way under the radar at this point, especially because of everyone focusing on Oblivion. But if you're a fan of the Wheel of Time, they're working on a open world RPG. They say will be developed wholly in-house by the team at the newly launched iWatt Games, which will be led by Warner Brothers Games veteran Craig Alexander. So if you are a Wheel of Time fan, which I don't know too much about the series, they are working on an open world RPG, obviously for all of their fans out there. Okay, we have two Nintendo Switch 2 news items here before we end. First of all, DLSS, I think, is going to be massive here for the Switch 2. Yes, it's underpowered. Yes, it's closer to like a PS4 from right now, what we understand, but that's just from the raw power of the thing. With the NVIDIA card in there, with DLSS, we're going to be seeing some great stuff on there. Current AAA games, I believe, are going to be able to run. Of course, we already have seen many announced and some analysis of those games. Another one here, Street Fighter 6 is appearing to use DLSS to get this thing running well on the Nintendo Switch 2. This comes via Digital Foundry, and they say, well, our initial pixel counts of Street Fighter 6 during the Switch 2 Direct reveal pointed to a native 1080p based on limited footage. The more recent Nintendo Treehouse feeds show a scale from a native 960 by 540 to a 1080p target using AI upscaling method, with evidence suggesting NVIDIA's DLSS based on this footage. Looking back at this 540p upscale appears to be in place in the original Direct footage as well. It's remarkably clean scale in most shots, with the first few frames following a camera cut being one way to catch the base resolution from its docked mode play. We'll be sure to report back once we have more information. So another game looks like it has DLSS. I think this is going to be massive for the Switch 2 going forward, especially as more games are using Unreal Engine 5. You're seeing the newer games come out actually putting a lot of pressure on the Series X and the PlayStation 5. So you have to ask yourself, how is the Switch 2 going to run some of this new stuff? Because there's also rumors that a game like Oblivion Remastered is going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to be using the secret sauce of NVIDIA and DLSS and their dev kits that the developers have in their hands. And it looks like it's getting pretty good for them. Like, it seems like, just from all of the stuff that is going to be launching on it, that there is going to be quite a few big AAA games that require a lot of power to look and run well, but because of DLSS, because of NVIDIA, and I think because of the way that Nintendo's probably made it relatively easier to develop this stuff for the Switch 2, we are going to be seeing all these games land on that console as well, which to me is a good thing. And finally, if you're wondering if the Switch 2 is going to sell well, because everyone complained about the prices, but I still think it is going to sell very well if you move away from all of the stuff that people are talking about online. Not that I agree with the pricing. I think that it is overpriced, the games and the accessories specifically. Well, a French retailer here says that hardware sales are at historic levels, and there's going to be great sales here for the accessories. This is the French retailer FNAC talking about how popular the Switch 2 has been since it has been available for pre-order. They say here, hardware sales are at a historical level. Stock situation is good, but could get tense in June. Higher average spent by user, closer to core gamers than Nintendo's more mainstream audience. The price won't be an issue for that demographic. The accessories are at a very high level of sales, especially the camera, which to me, it's just like, that part's mind-blowing, because the whole camera situation with the Switch 2 is super uninteresting. The whole game chat thing looks terrible when you're seeing games run at like 2 FPS. Like, who wants to do that? It's basically just Discord screen share that is way worse. So that part to me is, it's not anything new or exciting, but I guess people are gonna eat it up. The Mario Kart bundle is extremely popular, of course, because you're getting the game for cheaper as well. And the software sales are lagging behind, but should ramp up closer to launch. And 12-midnight launch event is planned in Paris and in other cities. I believe in Canada as well. There is a midnight launch event at GameStop, which I would love to go to, because we don't really have any more midnight launch events anymore ever since everything went digital and online. But they're going to bring it back with the Switch 2. I'm probably going to try to go to my local GameStop and be a part of that if I can get my pre-order in at GameStop in the next day or so, 24th, when it does go live. But of course, the Switch 2, right off the bat, as I've said many times, it's going to sell out. It's going to sell very well at launch. The question is, what will the sales be in a year, in 2 years from now, if the prices stay the same, especially for the accessory side of things, because the accessory prices have increased in the United States, and they're expensive. And I don't think that they're at the levels that people are going to look at and just jump on and want to buy every single accessory here for the Nintendo Switch 2. But as of right now, launch, things are looking very good on the sales front. I'm going to end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.